And I want to thank our witnesses for being here and traveling long distance to be here. This kind of came from Library of Congress, this hearing, from a presentation that Dr. Schmidt put on his book, Genesis, that he wrote with Henry Kissinger's last book. And I walked away thinking we needed to have the entire Congress hear your presentation. And so we're doing it with the entire Energy and Commerce Committee, because I think an author always wants to know, when they write a book, will somebody read my book? And then if they read the book, then will it have an impact? Well, today, you and all the witnesses are before the full Energy and Commerce Committee, and our dear colleague and the dear husband of our colleague Debbie Dingell used to say that if it's moving, it's energy. If it stops, it's commerce. Something to that effect. So we have a lot of jurisdiction. I say it takes energy to move commerce. I can't improve on Chairman Dingell, but that's my version of it. And so we're having a full hearing. We typically do this in subcommittee, but this touches all jurisdictions, and I think everybody needs to hear it. If you think about it's going to take enormous energy to beat China to AI. In doing that, we have to protect the environment. Our telecom and privacy through our commerce and telecom committees will be dealing with this. And AI has particularly healthcare applications. So it touches all of our jurisdiction. And Dr. Schmidt, when I walked away from the Library of Congress and I read your book, it gave me a sense of mission, and the mission that a direction I want to take this committee in the time that I'm chairman. And to sum up what you said, it's the U.S. versus China, and who will win the war for AI. And it essentially, I walked away, this is as important as the dollar being the reserve currency in the world. It's that important, and that's what's before us. And what I hear from people in this space is that we have the brain power and we have the capital. What we need is the energy and the correct regulatory framework. And we have an example of what not to do. And I believe you said Europe, in your presentation, Europe has chosen not to grow. So we can't look there as an example. We have to work through it ourselves. And Europe is a regulatory framework, their energy framework and the regulatory framework. Some of their regulatory framework written specifically to disadvantage American companies has made them non-competitive. And Europe and the U.S. had a similar size economy in 2008, and I've read that our economy is about 80% larger. So what do we need to do? And the reason we want to do a full committee is that we have to have broad consensus on how we work together. It has to be Democrat and Republican. People who tell me they invest, it's tough to invest based on congressional cycles or presidential cycles if the rules are going to change every 2 to 4 years. And so what I would like to hopefully we could do in this committee is come up with a regulatory framework and an energy policy that we can all, or most of us can agree on, at least build a broad consensus on how we develop massive amounts of energy while protecting our environment. And Dr. Schmidt, you said all energy resources are needed, and then AI will develop solutions to deal with climate change. And so Microsoft, to put this in perspective, Microsoft data center can use as much power as the city of Seattle, is what I've been told. And so in the regulation side of it, we have to protect our privacy. Yesterday we had a hearing, our bills yesterday on children's privacy and children's safety, and we have to protect our privacy. I think all of us want our privacy protected. But we can't do it in a heavy-handed way that stifles innovation. And as I said, we have to look at our friends across the Atlantic. But I think we need to more intently look across the Pacific to a nation determined to win. China has specifically said they are going to win the war on AI. And we are taking up the challenge to prove to them that the American entrepreneur and the American intellect will win the war on AI, but they have to have the energy and the regulatory environment to do so. So if this committee gets it right, America will win. It may win if otherwise, but we need to be there to make that happen. And if you look at what if China wins, we just had a hearing, an oversight, that a medical device from China had an embedded URL to the University of Beijing. So why did that mean a medical device? Because we know they're using everything they can to get information they need on us. So we must win, we will win, and for the sake of the world, we have to win. And I am determined through this hearing to the beginning that all of us will work together, because all of us are dedicated to winning. And I will yield back and recognize the ranking member for 5 minutes for an opening statement.